The eight wastes, or muda in Japanese, were developed primarily by Toyota to classify our non value added steps and help us easily recognize opportunities for improvement. Downtime is the acronym we're going to use in this course, but you may also see Tim Woods. Both use the same general categories, it's simply a preference of your organization. Additional acronyms are also floating out there, so you may come across those. But if you know the eight wastes, you'll be able to understand and apply them regardless of the terminology in your organization. Downtime stands for defects, overproduction, waiting, not using people well, transportation, inventory, motion, and excess processing. In this module, we're going to go through each one of these wastes in a little bit more detail with examples. Then we'll challenge you to go look for examples in your own workplace. Every workplace is unique, and this will be the first chance that you have to begin adapting these tools to your organization. Defects. A defect is an imperfection, an error, a mistake that can result in rework, scrap, and failures. Think of the last time you received something that was broken or damaged. Defects can have a huge impact on our processes. While one mistake can seem small, the downstream effects of that defect can have real long lasting impacts. Overproduction. Overproduction is when we produce more than is needed or before it is needed. This can result in excess inventory, rework, and lost time. Think of the local buffet that makes a bunch of food and then there's bad weather and nobody comes in for that day. Waiting. Waiting. This should be an easy one for us to recognize. We can usually see waiting whenever we see a queue or a backlog. Waiting is simply the time in queue waiting for that next process step. It can result in duplication, defects, customer frustration, and time spent managing those backlogs or queues. If you've ever been to an airport or an amusement park, you've probably experienced a lot of waiting. Not using people well. This waste was not originally part of the Toyota wastes. It was added later as the tools were adopted outside of Japan. Not using people well is the under or overutilization of people's talents, experience, abilities, or ideas. This can result in wasted effort, working on the wrong things, a loss of effectiveness, turnover, and more. You can think of this when you watch the movie Good Will Hunting, where Matt Damon plays a mathematical genius that works as a janitor. Transportation. Transportation is the unnecessary movement of product or material. This can result in excess expenses, transportation costs, storage costs, and delays in delivery. Like when we wait for packages to be delivered but see them travel all over the country before arriving at our door. Inventory. Inventory is the excess finished products or materials that are not being processed. Holding the inventory can result in excess storage, rework, lost time, and high costs. At home, we do this sometimes when we buy in bulk. Maybe now you have a pallet of toilet paper or 5 giant bottles of ketchup. Motion. Motion is the unnecessary movement of people. This can result in lost time, injuries, employee frustration, and slow production. If you have a set of stairs at work or home, you know how tiring it can be to go up and down many times a day. People often wonder what the difference is between transportation and motion. In motion, we're talking about the movement of people. In transportation, we're talking about the movement of materials or information. So if you're in a computer system, the movement that you'll see with your materials is going to be that movement of information. For example, at a computer based workstation, motion would be clicking your mouse, it would be moving your eyes to different parts of the screen. Whereas transportation might be the data set saved in multiple places, or the movement of the information from reports to emails or additional spreadsheets. Excess processing. Excess processing is more work or higher quality work than is needed to satisfy the customer. This can result in extra costs, long processing times, failure to deliver, and more expensive production. Like when you fill out a form and you ensure every last detail and question is answered, only to see that when you turn it in, they only needed your name and address. I think of excess processing as the waste of perfection, going above and beyond what the customer actually needs to be satisfied. Let's look at an example at a local coffee shop. Today, we're in a different neighborhood and we've walked into a coffee shop that we've never been to before. Let's see what waste we can identify as we sit and observe what's going on. The first thing we see is a manager cleaning up a spill while a server is on their phone. The spill is a defect, and using the highest paid team member to clean it up while others are available is not using people well. What we also see is an angry barista. The person making coffee has had to walk all the way over to the trash bin to throw out what looks to be a perfectly good cup of coffee. Having to walk so far to throw it out is that waste of motion. Throwing out a coffee that's not good enough because the barista thinks so, not because the customer thinks so, is excess processing. He's only satisfied with perfection regardless of what the customer sees as value. At the counter, we see customers waiting for their coffee, we see customers waiting to order, and we see a special on the muffins. Even though the busiest part of the day is almost over, the cabinet is still really full with muffins. The queue of customers is the waste of waiting. The staff has also overproduced the number of muffins for that day. If we look behind the barista, we can see a storage room overfilled with supplies. When we walked in, they had just received a delivery of even more boxes. But up close, we could see that the boxes just delivered had already expired. Their Best Buy sticker had already expired. The storage room is overfilled, which would be the waste of inventory, having to manage and search through that inventory every time they needed something. If we inspected the boxes just delivered a little bit closer, we would see that they spent more times in customs than expected. Then they got sent to the wrong store before arriving at this store. All that excess transportation meant they were already expired when they arrived. Once we learn the 8 wastes, it can make it really easy to see potential opportunities. It also gives us a common language so we can describe what we are seeing to others. This is one of the simplest but most robust tools in our tool set. You can use the form below to see if you can match the waste described with one of the 8 wastes. For more examples, you can look at the list below as well for examples other participants have sent in. In our next module, we're going to ask you to go out and identify waste yourself.